It's the end of day three's play at Lord's, the second test match between India and England. And during tea, we were talking about how the game was slipping out of India's hand. Now you could say that it's completely out of India's control because England at the moment hold all the aces. VVS Lakshman, Ravi Vopara join us on this particular discussion. But let's first quickly take a look at where the match stands at the moment. Now, England are at the moment at 357 for 6. Chris Woakes not out on 120, which means England are leading India by 250 runs and with 4 wickets in hand. Remember, we had almost 2 days washout, 2 days still to go in this particular test match. VVS, for India, what can they hope for now?
Hope for a draw. Because if there is one team which is in a formidable position at the moment, that's England. 250 runs lead with 2 days to go. And I actually think that Joe Root should take a bold decision and declare tomorrow, especially with the weather around, with 250 runs, back their 4 fast bowlers to get Indian wickets, because there's no point of being in such a formidable position and ending up in a draw. But at the moment, I think everything in favour of England.
Okay, Ravi, we were talking about how rain is expected on day 4 and day 5. If you were Joe Root, would you then put India straight in at the start of day 4?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd wake up in the morning, have a look outside the curtains and see how the weather's planning out. Have a look at the weather forecast in the morning at 8 a.m. And make your decision when you get to the ground. I think it's a wise decision for Joe Root and the coaching staff to declare and put India in early morning, especially if there's a little bit of weather. The ball might swing again and make it difficult for the Indian batsmen.
Okay, we were talking about how Bairstow was looking so good in the tea time show, but it's Chris Woakes who's gone on and got that 100.
Yeah, and fantastic batting display, coming in place of Ben Stokes, because if Ben Stokes wouldn't have had that trial, then Chris Woakes wouldn't have even found his place in the playing 11. But then suddenly he changed his gear post-tea session and he overtook Bairstow, went on to get his 100. And that strike rate in Test match cricket, 75. Yeah. And that's means that he was in aggressive mindset and at the same time playing proper cricketing shots and great temperament, and he played like a proper batsman, not a number 7 batsman, and I think England will be really happy because with this century from Woakes, someone who is a frontline seamer, I think the depth in their batting has just strengthened.
Okay, Ravi, I was just looking at a few numbers of Chris Woakes on this particular ground. At Lord's, his bowling average is less than 10. His batting average is close to 120. He would like to take this strip everywhere he goes.
Yeah, absolutely ideal for him. It's almost been the ideal test match for him. He bowled in those conditions that we saw yesterday. He can be very dangerous in those conditions, especially he's just come from county cricket where it's essential that you pitch the ball up and make the players challenge the forward defence, challenge the drive. So he's just come from there and he bowled the perfect length yesterday, especially to Virat. And also he's played in county cricket where the conditions are challenging for the bat as well. So his technique got him through early stages of his batting, and he went on and scored 100. It's a fantastic couple of days for him.
Could Virat Kohli have done anything differently? One criticism that's coming his way as a captain is when a batsman comes in, he tends to open up the field pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that happened when Sam Curran came in, because there's a time when you don't give singles and make the new batsman play as many balls as possible and create chances to take the wicket. But I thought when Bairstow and Woakes were having that partnership, I didn't think Virat would have done anything different. But I think it's the responsibility of the bowler. And while the wicket flattened out, I still feel that if you're giving or the run rate of the opposition batting unit is more than 4, that means they are in total control. They're dictating the terms. And that's something which the bowlers and the captain should be thinking about, because then you bowl to one area and one side of the wicket, dry up the runs. When a partnership is building 189 run partnership, and this is not the first time when Indian bowling lineup pick up the top order batsman and suddenly the lower order batsman comes and they build a partnership and frustrate the bowling unit. So I think when the partnership is building, it's very important to dry up the runs, which unfortunately didn't happen.
Okay, we kept talking about, when you were talking about the Indian team, the importance of an all-rounder, and Hardik Pandya was supposed to play that role. When you actually see Chris Woakes, then you understand what the importance of an all-rounder is.
Yeah, and Hardik is a young player. You know, Chris Woakes has been around for a long time. Hardik hasn't played too much of Test match cricket, but in the matches he played, especially as a batsman, he's improving. You know, I saw that 100 he got in Sri Lanka, the counter-attacking knot at Cape Town, and I think more chances he gets, he will evolve. He will understand his game, work on his game, erase out whatever deficiency he has in his game, but he's got the potential, and that's why the team management are investing a lot of time on him and giving him those opportunities. But he's definitely got that potential, and you don't seem to have too many all-rounders in the Indian system as such. So that's why when you identify someone who's got that potential, give him that opportunity and see whether he's improving. And that's I see definitely, because while he gave away too many runs today, but I thought Hardik was disciplined. Yeah. And you can't judge by just how many wickets he got, because the wicket the conditions didn't really suit fast bowling or fast bowlers.
Okay, conditions didn't really suit. Ravi, to you, this particular question, nothing to take away from what Bairstow and Woakes have achieved, but would it be fair to say that these were the best batting conditions and the Indian bowlers didn't get the rub of the green their way as far as the conditions were concerned?
Yeah, most definitely. England have definitely had the best of the conditions. India have obviously had the worst, having to bat yesterday in those conditions, and today having to bowl in pretty dry conditions where the pitch is looking flat. Having said that, for me, Hardik Pandya is not a third seamer. He's a fourth seamer for me in England, but the thing is, India have to develop him as a third seamer, because if they're going to play in India where they're going to play two spinners, he's going to have to be the third seamer. So, you know, it's one of those things where he's just going to have to learn to play that role. But in terms of conditions, it's unfortunate for India to have those conditions, and it might be quite bad tomorrow, especially if they get on and off tomorrow. It's going to be very difficult for India. The ball will swing and it will nip around.
Right, conditions weren't in their favour, but let's take a look, or a closer look, at the Indian seamers. Let's take a look at Ishant and Shami. Could they have done anything different? Because as you said, that they were disciplined, they were bowling in the right areas.
Yeah, and I think that's something which Ishant and Shami, if you ask them, see, Ishant economy rate is quite high, you know, but they were the wicket-taking bowlers, because there was nothing for the spinners, and there were only two impact bowlers. The third seamer was not really a frontline seamer. So suddenly the responsibility of taking wickets totally lies in the hands of Ishant Sharma and Mohammad Shami. And when you try to go for wickets, sometimes you give away runs. You know, sometimes when batsmen are batting on flat wickets, they can score runs even off good deliveries, just like the way we saw when Chris Woakes and Bairstow were having that partnership. They scored off good deliveries as well. But I was really impressed once again with Mohammad Shami, because he was persistent and also he was very disciplined. You know, the lengths he hit was perfect to the condition, and you know, I think that's why he was the pick of the bowlers for me.
Okay, a word on what Ravi said, that India going with two seam bowlers in this match wasn't the right call. I know we've spoken about it before, but now it became really evident looking at the way
I think it's more to do with the conditions and more with the history of how Lord's wicket played over the last 2 or 3 years. You know, it's dry surface, and when you play two spinners, then you cannot afford to play one frontline bowler. You know, you can't have three fast bowlers and two spinners, and that's why I was going for Jadeja, who will become that all-rounder, and then you can have three impact fast bowlers in Umesh, Shami and Ishant, plus Jadeja, who can do the controlling job, and then you have Ashwin, who can do the attacking job. But the moment they went for Kuldeep and they retained Hardik Pandya, then it was evident that one of the seam bowlers who didn't do well in Birmingham was going to miss out, and that was Umesh Yadav.
Okay, since the conditions weren't really favouring the seam bowlers, much was expected out of the Indian spinners, especially R. Ashwin, considering the way he had bowled in the first test match. Let's take a look at some of those numbers. Let's just compare how he bowled in that first test vis-a-vis how he's bowled in the second test match. If you take a look at it in that first test match, what is it that you noticed, VVS, in terms of his lengths?
I think he was patient, and that's the best I've seen Ashwin as far as patience is concerned, and then he bowled a lot of deliveries full, and most of the wickets came for the balls which were full. Because he was able to do that consistently, he was able to build pressure on the opposition batsman. But what we saw today was he just was losing patience. You know, that's why he was giving a lot of boundary balls, if I may say. And we can also understand his mindset, because the Ashwin is an attacking bowler. And when you're an attacking bowler, you always want to take a wicket. And the situation the Indian team was, you wanted to pick up wickets, especially break the partnership between Vokes and Bairstow.
So this is the second test match, and we see 36% of full-length deliveries in the first test. In the second, we can see only 30%. So that's a reduction there, 13%.
Yeah, I think the more you bowl fuller, more you force the batsman to play on the front foot, the more chances you create. The moment you bowl length or short of good length, then on this wicket where there is not enough assistance, neither there is space in the wicket, the batsman can afford to just go rock back, use the depth of the crease and maneuver the ball or even score a boundary. And that's where Ashwin probably requires to be more patient. And the more patient he is, the more impact he can create. And that's something which you can learn from Birmingham.
Ravi, did you notice any difference in the R. Ashwin that we saw in the first test match and the R. Ashwin that we are seeing now? Is discipline that biggest difference?
For me, I think the biggest the biggest fault Ashwin made in this test, especially, was he didn't bowl that attacking line outside off stump to the right hander. He bowled very straight, which is easy, I think, to play, especially when there's no turn. He didn't bring the outside edge into play by bowling out there into some of the footholds. I know there's not many footholds, but we saw one ball where he bowled wide and it turned back in through Bairstow's inside edge and just missed the stumps. I think if he attacked that line a little bit more, he would have brought both edges into play. He could have given himself some cover field on the offside and just attacked that line a little bit more. I think for me, he just bowled a little bit too straight and made it a little bit too easy for the batsman.
Okay, could the reason that he didn't bowl that attacking line, as Ravi says, could be the fact that he just had 107 on board? In fact, by the time he came on to bowl, he just had 30, 40 odd runs to defend, which was very different in the first test match because they were bowling first.
Yeah, I think in the first test he bowled the 7th over, and got the wicket of Alistair Cook. And when you're into in the game very early and you pick up an early wicket, that adds to the confidence. When he came, I think it was the 38th over.
Yes.
When he came to bowl today, and that definitely would put pressure on Ashwin, because when he came, he had to straight away impress by taking wickets. But again, I still feel patience is the key for Ashwin, especially when you're playing in overseas condition where there's not much of turn and bounce. And Ravi mentioned about the line. Yeah, along with line, other important aspect is make the batsman play on the front foot, because when he's bowling the line which is off stump or outside the off stump and you give a short pitch delivery or even a good length delivery, good players of spin bowling will rock back and hit through the cover region or through the point region. So I think the mantra is bowl a line where you're forcing the batsman to reach out to the ball, but also bowl the length where you're making the batsman to play on the front foot.
Okay, one word on the other spinner. One thing is not to take a wicket. I'm talking about Kuldeep Yadav. The other is not looking like taking a wicket, and that's how, unfortunately, Kuldeep.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've seen Kuldeep not in control, right from the first test he played at Dharamshala to various IPL matches, because in T20 matches, there's always that additional pressure on a spinner. But I still feel that it's because of the Duke's ball, because how many times did we see Kuldeep bowling full toss? I think he bowled at least 6 or 7 full toss in a test match, and he didn't bowl too many overs either. So I believe that it's something to do with the Duke's ball. I think he's still not able to grip that ball as you probably will do with the SG ball or with the white Kookaburra ball. So I think it's very important for a young spinner to learn quickly that he has to practice a lot. I'm sure he must be doing, or the bowling coach must have told him that. But when you're going to different places in the world, you definitely have to practice with the ball with which you're going to play the test match. And that, I'm sure, is a learning experience for young Kuldeep.
Right. Ravi, talking about Kuldeep Yadav, it's a tough lesson, all right, but it's a lesson nonetheless. How to bowl with that red ball, and it's test match cricket.
Yeah, I mean, I had my reservations about Kuldeep to start with, especially in England, where if you don't get much assistance out of the pitch, it's a very, very difficult place to bowl spin, especially to bowl wrist spin, especially with no assistance. I had my reservations at the start, and they were confirmed a little bit during his spell today, and I do feel for him, because it's not easy to bowl with a Duke's ball. That Duke's ball is a little bit slippery. The seam is different. It's a little waxy feeling to the ball. It can be difficult for a spinner for the first time bowling with that ball.
Okay, and it was for Kuldeep Yadav, as we saw. Thanks so much for joining us, Ravi Bopara, VVS Lakshman. We've had the end of day 3. It's been a day that was completely dominated by England. They already lead India by 250 runs. It's going to be a battle for survival as far as the Indian batsmen are concerned when they come out to bat, as and when they come out to bat on day 4 of the Lord's Test match. Of course, we'll be back here on ESPN Cricket for Matchday discussing that, building up to that 4 days play. VVS Lakshman and Ravi Bopara will join us then. We'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.